Good afternoon, Neil fam. It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. I apologize for this late video coming out on a Sunday at noon, October the 19th. The market, I believe, opens right back up tomorrow. This is unusual time for me to be posting this video. Normally, I get these videos on a Saturday morning, which would have been yesterday. If you're following me on Twitter, you would have gotten my updates, which is just a cue for you guys. If you guys aren't already following me, check out the description in this video below. There's a link to my Twitter. I will post updates, especially if you're wondering where are my videos. Yesterday, the power went out right in the middle of my video. So I was actually recording my analysis and boom, out went the power, and it went out for a couple hours, and then we got a notification that it wasn't going to be up for another couple hours. So I was like, let's just head out with the family. Went and watched a movie, went to the movie theaters with my son. He's still little, so we went and watched Gabby's Dollhouse. Decent movie. Sat through that one, came back home, and I'm like, do I still have time for this video? I was going to try and do it in the evening, and the power goes out again. I swear that's what happened. And then I ended up saying, okay, time to head out. And it was completely wild. In fact, the power was out for so long, and I was like, what am I going to make for dinner? I had to turn on my barbecue, which, by the way, is a really awesome thing to have. Having a barbecue, being able to use propane and heat up your food, it's like a life survivor skill. But it also made me realize I got to go out to the store. I got to buy myself some candles and some flashlights because it got dark as hell. But I have power here. I have internet. I'm able to actually make this video. I'm here to share with you where I see Neil going into next week. My story time's over. If you're brand new here, we drop one of these videos once per week, usually on a Saturday morning. If we're lucky and I have time, I'll drop it on a Friday. And then, of course, it's not just Neil we look at because there's different pieces to the puzzle piece. Neil's just one of them. We do like looking at Baba and Baidu. I have, you can see pulled up actually on my watch list. I should really rename this to China. KWEB and JD. So I'll take a quick peek at that just to keep the video kind of under control so it doesn't get too long. It'll be just really high overview. We're not going to do a deep dive on them. And then, of course, to wrap things up, just to get the full picture, we will look at the Seng Index. We will also look at the Dixie, which is our US dollar. We've been following all of that. And then we'll try and come to a conclusion. I want to start off by saying I know that NIO's, like, there's a lot of bulls. I wouldn't say all of them, but there's some bulls who are starting to get a little concerned and a little worried because it dipped 23% from the recent highs. And for those of you that are kind of new into the play and just got in, some of you guys might be thinking like, like, I'm getting scared. What am I going to do? Like, did I screw up? Did I buy the top? Like, is it going to be one of these where it's going to go right back down? Or is it going to be one of these rallies where it just goes back down? And I've addressed this in my previous videos. So again, take some time, watch some of my old videos. I talk about this, but I think these times are different. This is going to be really, really good, this dip. It's going to allow a lot of newer buyers to finally enter into this price action. And let me start off with a weekly time frame. Now, if you're not already familiar with this because you're new here, and most of you guys probably are, this is my custom indicator. It measures the speed of the movement. And if you notice this big blue line here, all of these moves, and we've talked about this in a previous move, but pretty much all of these rallies that took place, with the exception of this one poked its head out above the midline here, and it poked its head out here above the midline, but all of the other rallies stayed below. Kind of almost like pump and dumps, basically dead cat bounces, but you could just tell like this is completely different. And now with this pullback that's currently happening, extremely healthy, this might be your final pullback that's happening. And there's something magical that did happen. And I want to remind you guys, especially for those of you that guys are looking for a little bit of reassurance, if this thing was going to go down, like, and I think this is like the irrational fear that a lot of people feel. Emotions come into play when you're investing, and sometimes people can get very irrational. I want to really bring to your attention, even on the weekly time frame, that it made a higher high. And not only did it make a higher high, it's setting up for what I like to call, and pretty much everyone, if you look at all the technicalities, the cup and handle. And we kind of we've measured it, we talked about it, but this is a cup. Your handle is we're in that process, I believe, of forming that handle. And when you're buying that cup and handle, it's exciting. Yes, there's going to be some potential room for more downside, but just know patience. This is not the time to get antsy. This is not the time to get like worried. It's different. It's totally different. And so that's why I wanted to bring you to the weekly time frame and just reassure everybody that this is not going to be like this. It's not going to be like it was last year. Last year's rally is entirely different. Notice even on the pullback, it dropped below. We've got so much leg space here. It's entirely different. Now, some of y'all are probably coming on here and maybe trying to get an idea for price targets. I know that's what a lot of people like to do. I've had some people kind of mention, like, what are you looking at for price targets? So a really good starting point here to try and figure out where this thing might potentially pull back, and I go to the 4-hour time frame, it's going to give us more data, is you could use our Fibonacci tool. So we had this rally that took place in April this year, and it bottomed at $3.31 in June. And since then, all the way up to $8.05. Tremendous rally. Now, I'm pulling up a Fibonacci trend line retracement tool, which can actually give us price targets as to where this thing could potentially go. Now, so far, it looks like we're getting a little bit of that bounce at that 653, which is the 0.236, which is your first Fibonacci trend line. And it looked like it tagged just below that. And I want to point out that the price made a lower low. Now, if we zoom in, pay attention to my indicator here, actually here. Now, you guys may not see this, but this is good. This is beautiful. You love seeing this. I love seeing this. And what do we have here? We have a higher low in relative to the previous low. And what that means, and I'll use arrows. It might make more sense for you folks that are watching this. When the price goes lower, but the velocity goes higher, it's a clear illustration that the sellers, the ones that are selling the stock, and maybe it's profit taking, those that are taking profit, they're getting exhausted. They're not as enthusiastic. When they pushed it to lower lows, it pushed it to lower lows on higher lows, which is usually one of the signs that you want to look for. So we have what we call is a bullish divergence. It's when the sellers are starting to get tapped out. It doesn't always necessarily mean the bottom's in, but it means that it's weaning, it's slowing down. And so I can't say for a fact that the bottom is in, but let me tell you, if I were to show you I'm going to show you a different time frame, and we talked about this last week. I'm going to the 2-hour time frame. Pay attention to the velocity indicator here. When we dropped all the way down to $6.40 from like that big drop, and I'm going to do a little, actually, I'm just going to use my tool here. The velocity tagged all the way down here. The last time we were it dropped down that fast, that low, was the April crash of the tariffs. Was like right around here. Very oversold levels. Now, it actually hit right around here, dipped lower, but then it actually was able to climb back up, make newer highs, and set up a base and run. I'm showing you guys this to let you know that it is very badly oversold. And if you look at the previous time before that, which takes us back a year ago, literally a year ago, you'll notice that when it hit that low of being sold off, it ended up resulting in a bounce, a 22% dead cat bounce. Now, I don't believe it's going to be a dead cat bounce this time, and I don't believe it's gonna rise the way I don't think it's going to be anything like this. Let me be very clear. I don't think it's going to be this. It's going to be something way more beautiful. I show you this to let you know, if those of you guys are wondering, like, hey, is the bottom in? Well, I think we're getting very close to like seeing this thing is getting into oversold levels. Now, I'm going to go to the 24-hour time frame. I'm going to erase some drawings. It's getting messy here. I'm going to try and really paint a picture here as to what is happening. Now, I'm going to switch to the regular scale. That's what I like to do. I'm gonna watch this. Beautiful. And I talked about this also last week. Let me tell you what I talked about last week. If you've missed this, it's very, very important. Very, very important. Now, do you see this? I'm going to bring your attention to our velocity, which made a higher high, and I'm going to try and point it to you. Where it did that? It did it right here. And now I'm going to move the arrows over to really tell the story. So I'm moving it over here. Notice that made a lower high over here, and the price made a higher high here. Now, yes, while that is a sign that buyers were getting exhausted, it did something extremely important and something rare that it never did since the last time. And what did it do? Now, I'm going to actually show you here. If I were to draw a trend line, pay attention here. This trend line from this high to this lower high, if I were to draw out that trend line, would represent, and we talked about this last week, it's a rare setup where you know that the dip you're getting is going to be beautiful. It sets up this trend line. Essentially, a break of our daily trend line resistance, which it'll eventually break, and it's ready to break, sends us back to this rising trend line here, which, as you can see, when this thing finally likes to bottom out and go, you can see where it's going to tap out, it's going to hit resistance, and it's going to just want to go there. There's going to be a magnet, and it's a rare setup. Now, if I were to look at this setup, by the way, and you can go back in time, I can go back in time and I could look at all of the prior rallies. On the daily time frame, it's extremely rare. In fact, you actually had it happen right over here. The higher high that actually happened right over here, but you got the lower high here. Want to see it in action? Now, notice that when we got that break, and it took a bit, when it finally came, where did it return? It returned right back to that trend line. It's exciting, and I'm confident that when this reverses, it's not quite ready yet, but when this reverses, you guys are going way up, way higher. We're going to take the highs out at $8. There's actually, it just so happens that there's a big level at $8.40. $8.40 is a big level, Fibonacci wise. And if you don't know why, I explained it in some of my previous week's videos, and I'm trying to just keep this video in check so it doesn't get too long. Notice the longer this thing takes, if it's not moving until January, let's just say January is the time, 11, 12, and I think the next big Fibonacci level after 8, if I'm not mistaken, is like 14. Okay, let's erase here. Let's also talk about some other good things here, by the way. Bears like to get very loud when there's any type of dips. We don't pay attention to that. Higher high, higher lows, higher high, higher lows. All right. We've got our cup. Now, if this plays out anything like Robinhood, and this is one thing that I believe I've been comparing it to, because I think Robinhood is a very, very comparable setup. Right before Robinhood went completely mental. And we have to jump into Robinhood here just for a moment. It's important for this part, okay? I'm going to delete this. We've looked at this before, but it's important to study because it really puts a lot of these things, it puts a lot of it into perspective. Almost a very similar setup. Robinhood from bottom to top of that rally went from 13, let's just call it 14, down to 10. Dropped $4. How much? 25% is what it dropped. And it tagged the 50% Fibonacci from bottom to top. And since then, you guys could see the rest is history for Robinhood. From basically like where you're stressed out and worried, like, oh my God, I got trapped at 13. It's $150, a 10 bagger. And if you manage to capture and swoop that dip, like a 15 bagger, like you're making 1,500% if you were to capture that. Like, unbelievable. And I do believe that's actually on the way for NIO, which is why I think like it's important to just avoid the noise, just be patient. This was a long rally. If you were to measure this and we were to say, okay, the top came in at 120, that was a 4-month rally, 120 days, almost exactly 4 months. Now, if we were to just entertain that, not always, I'm just painting this picture. I can't guarantee the sun's going to come up tomorrow, but we all know it's going to come up tomorrow. But it's a pretty high probability that before February 2nd, this pullback will be done. Before then. And you're going to get that big pullback. And I think that would be like a worst case scenario. Like you're waiting for a while. And here's how I would imagine that would play out if that were the case. Let's just say, let's pretend 120 days up, 120 days down, and we're talking like the last shakeout. And that's worst case scenario. And I think it's important. You manage your expectations, and if you're a little bit more conservative around that and you get that wrong, that's fine. I go, yep. So the 50% is 515. So let's just say that's where it's going to go before it kind of launches. Let's erase this. What you'll most likely get, probably tag right below this low here. What is it? It's 552. It will give you a golden pocket retrace like that. Your dead cat bounce might come. I honestly think it's oversold. I don't think it'll come that low. But I'm trying to be super, super conservative. I like to actually see it come down to 552. That's kind of a little bit, I mean, it's more likely what you'll most likely see, is you'll see a move to $7.30. And in fact, $7.30, because I believe it's like oversold and there's some bullish divergence, I think you're very likely to see 730-ish, 720, 730 play out. I could potentially see it like just hanging out here for a bit. I'm going to delete this. Hanging out here for a bit. And that's your, like, basically your dead cat bounce. And then it coming down and giving you that one big, like, it's had time now to like almost set up a lower high. And I'm just bear with me here. I don't think like if it really wanted to do like a huge like single like overnight like bink, it could. You could just see it like some fluke. I'm not betting on it that it would go down to 440, but it's potentially in the cards. But if I were measuring this move and it was Robinhood, you would get $5.20. But notice there's a golden pocket there, which is also a healthy retracement zone, which is $4.50. You could see that. You could see like there is this trend line here, so it might just quickly swing back low. I know $4.09 is actually a massive Fibonacci level. 409 is huge. And that might just be like the last. If it ever does do that, you guys, if you see 409, don't cry, the world is over. I don't think it'll actually do something like that, but I'm just kind of painting that as a possibility. What's most likely to happen is you kind of get more like a move like this, $5.07. You might even just see 576 or potentially 540. Let's just say 5. If I'm being more bullish, maybe it just hangs out here, 570. And we start basing here, starts hanging out here. And it's just like, okay, what's happening? And all of a sudden, and now your cup is done. This is like your bullish path. Now here's what we have to remember. NIO is a very heavily owned retail stock. I would call it I wouldn't call it a super crowded play, but there's enough of a retail following that to do this kind of pullback would be kind of tame. You might not shake out as many people, and smart money's not able to get in as low. And, just manage your expectations. You could easily see them try and pull a quick one or a fast one back down to 514. Maybe you can see something like that. I actually don't, I can't tell you exactly the price target here. I think basically we just don't know exactly how low it's going to go. You might only see 596. You might only see 6. When this goes, it's going to go. I'm going to tell you that right now. When this goes, this is going to go. And it's going to be difficult. But we have a really nice timeline here around February the 2nd. There's actually like a lot of options for January. So it might actually, start rallying a little bit before then. That's what I think is in store. I think you're going to maybe get like that higher low. And I'm going to paint this out for you. Let's see if this works. I'm just trying to do this. That's March. This just helps paint a picture. Do that low, like a tag 550. I mean, maybe. Actually, if you go down to that 520 zone, it takes out that low of $5. Maybe. Starts heating up, gives you that another low. Off it goes. Okay, not quite, but we're in that February zone. Either way, like this is gonna, as you can see. I mean, I don't know exactly how it's gonna play out. To be honest, I look at this, and there could be some more room for a pullback. I go back to the 4-hour time frame. There's some bullish divergences. I go to the 2-hour time frame. It's showing that it actually looks like it just broke above the 200-day moving average. It looks like it wants to move. Now, usually when you see this setup, by the way, usually when I see this setup, what ends up happening is you get a little bit of a lift, gets everyone excited, and they pull the rug. They pull the rug, and then they let it go. Kind of what happened here. People get excited, they pull the rug, and then they let it go. So you could get just kind of something like that playing out, you guys. If there's any big takeaway here, I think the big takeaway is calm, patience. The world is not ending. We got to take it easy. I know there was some BS news that came out about like the CEO, and you guys know about me. News is all BS, man. It's all made to kind of play on retail's emotion to get you to buy, get you to sell. So I want to be a little bit more specific as far as price targets. I do think if we get that bounce, $7.30 is what you guys are looking at. And the reason it's 730 is that's your golden pocket. So if it gives you a dead cat bounce, 735, possibly you get another leg lower, and it wouldn't happen like that. It would happen maybe like this, and you get maybe like that one more lower. Some people are like, yeah, it's ready to go, and then that's where they manipulate it, hangs out here, and then it goes. So I do think there's a bounce coming, but there'll also be, I believe, one more leg possibly coming lower. And the reasons for that, just study real quick here. Our 200-day moving average is still curling down. So even if I saw like next week that move to 730 and it went like whoosh, it went up, like you got that big move, I should be using white. If you can imagine the velocity being white. If I were to draw out a yellow line here, it would still take time for this to curl up. And I think what would happen is you would get that one more tag where it dips below, but it's different. And then it's trending up. Then dips are basically getting ready to go. And of course, you look at something, I want to bring your attention to what supports that this next bounce won't be it, is it's so steep, this trend line. it won't take much for it to crack or break. I could see like kind of like this gapping up toward that $7, $7.35. Just to mentally prepare you guys, if it goes to $7.35 from 676, that is an 8% rally. 8%. But I also believe that's not going to be go time. That won't be go time. You might even see 740. Actually, the trend line tells you that you can even see up to, 10%. So just manage your expectations. Be patient. You're in the handle, in the cup and handle, and it ain't gonna be that quick, in my opinion. But again, I've been wrong in the past before. There's several talented people out there who will probably disagree with me. Their own technical analysis may not align with mine. I just think this is not the time to get ahead of yourself. This is not the time to get super, super excited. This is the time to be a little bit more patient. Having said that, after we kind of get that high around 730, I do see the potential for it to tag 550, potentially down to 519, which is our Robinhood fractal. That's the 50% retrace. And if you forget, here it is, drawn out around there. And it's funny, you got this one little glitch candle right here. I would imagine like an algorithm will just take it out overnight, tag, and like that could potentially be your bottom. And so that is what I think is gonna that's where I can think and come down as low. But it doesn't mean, okay, I'm not going to buy until it gets to 517, because it's not a guarantee. 574 is not a guarantee. You might only see $6, right? Nobody knows exactly how low this thing's going to go. What you can know is you can predict like the long-term prices. And I think it's going to come up. So if you find a good price when you get a nice big red day, and when that's going to happen, by the way, this is what I think is going to be your best time to buy. The best time to buy into this, if you're average down, would have been on Friday, in my opinion, because I think there's going to be a bounce that's coming. And you're going to get like that because it's oversold bounce. You'll get to 732. The next best time is when it breaks below this trend line, and it's going to give you like some random red candle. It'll look like that. Boom. Comes up. Boom. What the heck? And then you kind of get in. And that could potentially, and it's going to be time. I think we got it. You got to manage your expectations from a timeline perspective. This is going to take a little bit longer. I'll bring you right back one more time to Robinhood. Timeline, just so you guys have an idea for timeline. This cup, by the way, from a timeline perspective, from top to bottom, before it moved, 49 days. I'll just cut roughly 48 days. Okay. NIO, what day are we on? Actually, we're pretty decent. We are on day 14. Day 48, if it was similar, where does that bring you? To November. Doesn't have to play out the exact same time frame. And I don't believe Robinhood was as crowded of a retail play as NIO is. So expect a little bit more manipulation to the downside, and just in my opinion, exercise patience. I'm going to jump in quickly to Baba, Baidu, KWEB, JD. I'm going to look at the rest of the things and kind of sum up my video here. I've talked quite a bit here on NIO. I do believe it's oversold. I do believe there's bullish divergences. I do believe there's going to be a rally coming soon, but I don't think it'll be the rally. Again, I'm happy to be wrong, but that's just the way I see it. Baba's I'm on the same thing. It looks like it's oversold. It's doesn't actually have the same. Does it have any bullish divergences, Baba? No, Baba hasn't built any bullish divergences. But what I think could happen here, because it's just China's way oversold, and I think like the news is getting more bullish, you'll see that rally. Potentially it comes back down and off it goes. I truly believe Baba is bound to actually just eventually push this thing way higher. On the 24-hour time frame on Baba, it's It's well above our blue line here. It did break below the 200-day moving average. You'll notice it did break the velocity here, which actually suggests that it might come down here. Oh, I need to come back to NIO real quick here, because that was another thing I wanted to bring to your guys' attention, which suggests and hints that we might get a bigger pullback. Is we did break our trend line here that we started back in April. It finally broke below it. Not a guarantee, but that's a really, really big potential, like possible sweep of the low. Like if that were to happen, and let's just say the run is going to be looks kind of weird, but I don't think so, to be honest. But I don't want to be opposed to it. But you could get just something stupid, something really stupid comes back here. That's the most stupid thing, I think, that if it went right back down to 409. Absolutely stupid. Of course, that would be your head and shoulders. But if it did something like that, and then I think that would still classify, by the way, as the cup and handle. It would just be a deeper cup and handle. And it's not something to like, oh my God, get freaked out about. 430. Yeah, I don't think it's going to come that low. NIO's been way too strong. And if it was, it should have did that like already. Minus 1%. That's fantastic. And you'll get that lift. The lift is coming. The bounce is coming next week. So we'll play it week by week. BABA, if it wants to, it's important for BABA, if it's going to break above, to hold above 163. 163 is a big level. A break below 163 for BABA would potentially send it down to 136. It could gap fill there. And it might bounce right there. You want it to find support there, and it would make sense for it to come back maybe and retest. So from up there. Next week, BABA bounces to 180. Bounces off this. Off it goes. China. BABA goes. Baidu. And sorry, but we wanted to quickly look at the weekly on BABA. BABA made a higher high. You love to see BABA on the velocity. It just made a higher high. In fact, the craziest thing is it made a newer, it broke the high from like 2018. And remember how I told you, and I'm dead serious, this is going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't want to erase this because it's an important channel. Remember I told you about NIO? This is an actual thing, by the way, for BABA. This trend line is a thing. I swear to God, it's a thing. You see this trend line right here? This is not meant to be a BABA video, but I'm just letting you know. Don't be shocked when you see BABA come up to $500 and $600. I mean, like it's in the cards. $500-600 is in the cards. I've seen it. And you want to know an example of where I've seen it? We're going to open up Tesla here for just a second. Take a look at Tesla for just one second here. Let's see. Now you guys might laugh at this, but haven't quite seen it just yet. But I think Tesla is this is totally in play for Tesla here too. Notice it's we have that trend line, and it's finally starting to push higher on that weekly. This was like its first pullback. I do believe you can see $1,000 on Tesla, and it would tag that trend line. Actually, it's not really it wasn't quite the example that I was looking for. I was looking for a better example. I think AMD is the best example that I have that I can illustrate where this actually works. To remove all the drawings. Where was it? We're on the weekly. Oh, you know what? That's probably why it didn't work, because I was on the weekly for Tesla. Where are we here? It was where was it? I'm wasting all this time here trying to show you guys something. Is it this? Ah, it was this. Okay. That was what it was. I think that's where I saw it. Wasn't it crazy? This is the most craziest thing. Okay. Take a look at this. Roughly around there. I'm going to be a little biased and make a take there. You see how it made higher highs? The price made higher highs, and notice the buyers made lower highs. How just kind of how NIO did a similar setup. Now, I'm not saying it's going to do this deep of a pullback, but look what happens when it finally broke where this thing wanted to tag, like a magnet. Boop. And so that is how that works. Okay, again, I know I'm jumping around here. I apologize for those of you that are not used to me jumping around, but I'm trying to make my point. Baba on a bigger time frame, I do believe is going very high. And it's just about being patient. Baidu. This is like the huge cup. It didn't quite take up that high, but it took out this high, and now it's giving you that pullback. For those of you that are in Baidu, it's already at the 50%. That move is already giving you the, not quite on the log scale, 110. So I could see maybe it come down a touch, another 10 bucks, maybe a retest. If you're in Baidu, which I think Baidu is the same thing. I think all of China is oversold. Its golden pocket retrace would look like this. A run back to 136, back maybe to 110. Actually, not quite, because that kind of breaks this whole cup and handle. Maybe it won't go that high. I think everything is a cup and handle. Baidu, Baba. KWEB actually, I think, is like a secret killer. We haven't talked about KWEB here, but everything about KWEB looks so amazing on the weekly time frame. Like, it's so insane. Like, I can't even tell you how good the weekly velocity looks. Way above a bounce, higher lows, a bounce. So if you're in KWEB, I think KWEB is going to do something really stupid. Like there's no reason I think why KWEB won't take out the highs right there. And you might even have, yeah, KWEB is going to do something crazy. It's setting up for parabolic. You can already see it. And KWEB, by the way, even though it hasn't been as volatile as NIO, has now been above its weekly velocity since February. And it's been pushing higher. NIO just broke above its weekly trigger. So it's still a little bit early, but it's going to be more volatile. JD, we're going to just do a quick look. You'll notice JD's trying to break above its weekly trigger, and it broke back above this midline here. It's looking good. It's looking healthy. Well, let's take a look to see. Let's look at just real quick here. 56 on the bigger time frame. How oversold is JD? JD's already bouncing on the 24-hour time frame. Notice when you guys get like dips below the 200-day moving average, the trend is going up. That dip's going to get bought up. Higher highs, higher lows. JD looks good. And I think it's kind of almost on the same kind of, there's your cup on JD, right? And I take your golden pocket. Like, I don't know, JD looks good. China as a whole looks good. Let's look at the index here. I think I still have these channels drawn. I do. Here's something that I wanted to talk about, which is you're going to find very interesting. And some of you guys might remember this chart from last week. I'm like, this thing hasn't made its big move. China, the last 1, 2, and 3 times it's topped out, the velocity has climbed all the way up here. And you'll notice We haven't taken that zone yet. We haven't even hit it. It just consolidated since May. Now, oftentimes, and I see this actually, and it's not something that I've ever commented before, so I'm going to tell you something brand new. Oftentimes, before it wants to make a high, it'll take the lows out. It'll have to take. So notice before we made the high, it swiped the lows out. It took out the lows right here. Before it made this high, it needed to like take these lows out. Before we had the high, you had the lows taken out here. Now notice these lows all on the velocity all got taken out. And it almost looks like your double bottom that's forming here on China. Now it did make a lower low, so it could be a fake out. We've seen the bottom come in on lower lows before on China. And so it's at the very least for China, which hit 27.44 the high. At the very least, this chart looks so messy. I can't even read it because it's got so many scribbles. Let's clean it. I can't stand it. Why can't I read this chart cleanly? Very least, I can see it rise another 3% into 26, which would be your lower high. And this thing could just slowly continue its grind that it has been doing on the mid channel. Grind. And if it were to time, this thing might just be grinding, and maybe you might get one potential flush to 25, maybe, which is where it is, but it might go up to 20. I think it's 27 first. I mean, if it keeps grinding, eventually you'll get that blow off the top move. We haven't gotten it. We haven't hit like critical mass, critical velocity, which was here, which was a major top before you got a big flush. Major top happened here, big flush, major top here. This was not it. This is a shakeout. This is a fake shakeout, in my opinion. US dollar. All right. US dollar is looking crazy on the velocity. It's definitively, even the 200-day moving average, it's making a higher high. It's about to make a bigger move. And we've seen the US dollar and equities both rise at the same time. It's been in this consolidation range like almost for, it feels like forever. It's been 100, almost half a year. It's been in that range. Eventually, I think you're going to get like a much bigger move on the US dollar. At the very least, golden pocket retest, which is 105 at the very least. I can't tell you exactly when that is, but we could see some action on that US dollar. It's definitely something to kind of keep your eyes on. The market at the moment is still very high fear. Pretty shaky market. I'm not going to talk too much about the SPY, the Qs, the IDM. You easily get lost in the noise. Big picture here is this video is for NIO. And what I wanted to say is this is the time where you really just need to be calm. Go out for a walk. Get some fresh air. Don't stress about the day-to-day price action. Don't do that to yourself. I'm going to say this, like if you're going to want to be investing in the stock market for a very long time, your health comes first. And watching the stock and seeing it like drop 5-10%, that could, for some people, that could actually really mess you up. Don't get messed up. Don't get stressed out. Take deep breaths. Take good care of your health. Health is always first. I go for daily walks. And I'll work out every other day. Today's the day I'm supposed to work out. I went for my walk this morning. I'm gonna work out right after this video. Health comes first over money, over the stock market, over everything. Without health, you got nothing. So don't let none of this stuff stress you out. And so if there's anything, I just want you guys all to feel, just calm. I think there's a big storm coming towards the upside for NIO, but it may require a little bit of patience. And if I had to predict, right around January, February, that's kind of like, I think, going to be a magical The magic date, just because 120, and I've noticed that quite a bit with cycles is if a rally lasted, oh, hang on, that was 90 days if you measured it from here to here. That brings us back to December. Okay. How did I get 121 days, guys? Did I measure? Oh, I measured it from here, I think. But if we measure it only from here, which I think is probably more fair, I apologize. So maybe like December. That's what, 90 days? You want to know a really cool statistic? I swear to God, this is like a legit statistic, a legitimate. It has not been broken since IPO. And this is my ending note. I'm going to leave this on an ending note. Since IPO, with the exception of right over here, every single downtrend, every single one of them, and I'm trying to draw these arrows, but I'll just use the arrow tool. Every single downtrend, even this one, and I've counted it. Every single one of them. Just going to draw them out. And I know times are different, so it could be different, but every single one of them